Mummification is the process by which a dead human or animal may be preserved for a long duration by preventing its decomposition. It can occur naturally, or it can be done intentionally. The mummification process is usually associated with ancient Egypt, though there are numerous cultures around the world which have practiced it. There were no restrictions in Egypt on who could be mummified. However, as the procedure was costly, it was beyond the means of many ordinary people. Initially, the ancient Egyptians buried their dead in the arid desert. This allowed the hot, dry sand to dehydrate the bodies, leading to natural mummification. Deliberate mummification became a part of Egyptian culture as early as 2800 BCE, and over time, elaborate mummification techniques were developed. These techniques were so efficient that their mummies are preserved even after thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians were firm believers in the afterlife. They believed that after you died, your spirit would depart your body. However, this was only temporary. The spirit would then return to your remains. This reunion was the start of your journey in the afterlife, which was filled with numerous challenges ahead. Mummification was thus required to preserve your body so it could reunite with your spirit and start your afterlife. As a result of various methods of study over many decades, modern Egyptologists now have an accurate understanding of how the process of mummification was carried out in ancient Egypt. We have divided it into three main steps. The first step was to remove all internal organs from the deceased. Firstly, special hooked instruments were inserted up through the nostrils and into the brain. From there, the brain was broken up into tiny pieces and pulled out through the nose. This was a delicate operation during which the face could be disfigured, and hence it required considerable skill. Then, a cut was made on the abdomen, usually on the left side. Through it, all the organs of the body were removed except the heart. The heart was left in place as it was believed to be the center of a person's thoughts and feelings. Thus, it was not prudent to separate it from the body. In a non-mummified body, it takes a few hours after death for the process of decomposition to begin, and it takes a few months for the flesh to completely decay, leaving the residual skeleton behind. The first stage of decomposition after death is known as autolysis. Also known as self-digestion, autolysis is the process of destruction of a cell through the action of its own enzymes. It begins immediately after death. Internal organs like intestines autolyze very quickly as they contain digestive enzymes that contribute to the self-digestion. Mummification's first step of removing internal organs is thus essential to halt decomposition. After the removal of internal organs, the next step was to remove all the moisture from the body. This was done by covering the body with natron, a type of salt which has great drying properties. Additional natron packets were also placed inside the body. When the body had dried out completely, the internal packets were removed and natron was lightly washed off from the body. This process usually took around 40 days and resulted in a very dried out but recognizable human form. To make the mummy look more lifelike, the areas in the body which had become sunken during the dehydration process were filled out with linen and other materials. Also, false eyes were added to improve the look of the mummy. The second stage of decomposition is called putrefaction. In it, bacteria breaks down the remaining organic matter. Bacteria are parasitic, and they thrive in the moist conditions of decaying flesh and organs. However, bacteria require water or moisture to stay alive and function. In the absence of moisture, bacteria will not form. This logic is the same as drying foods to preserve them for a longer duration. Thus, the goal in mummification is to drive out all the moisture from the dead body from both inside and outside. The next step in the mummification process was wrapping. Hundreds of yards of linen was required to wrap the mummy. The Egyptian priests wound long strips of linen around the body carefully. They were so meticulous that sometimes they even wrapped each finger and toe separately before wrapping the entire hand or foot. At several stages in the process, the form was coated with warm resin before resuming the wrapping. Within the layers, the priests placed small amulets in order to protect the dead from evil. Also, prayers and magical words were written on some of the linen strips to achieve the same purpose. A mask of the person's face was often placed between the layers of head bandages. This was done to identify the person in the afterlife. The entire mummification process, from removing internal organs to completely wrapping the body, took around 70 days. The body was wrapped in layers of linen to absorb any residual moisture. Resin, a sticky organic substance, was placed between layers to make them closely packed, thus preventing moist air from reaching the mummy. For further precaution, resin was also applied to the coffin in order to seal it. All these things ensured the efficiency of the mummification process. The process of mummification can also occur naturally. This usually happens in conditions which are extremely cold, like that in glaciers, or extremely arid, like those found in deserts, or anaerobic conditions which lack oxygen, such as those found in bogs. Decomposition doesn't happen in these conditions because they are not suitable for bacteria to thrive. Natural mummification may also occur due to accidental exposure to chemicals, which again dry the body and prevent the formation of bacteria. Natural mummies have been found all over the world. Among the best-known natural mummies is Otzi. It was found in 1991 by 2 German tourists in the mountain range of Ötztal Alps in northern Italy. Also known as the Iceman, the mummy was very well preserved and is of a man who is considered to have lived around 5,000 years ago, between 3,400 and 3,100 BC. Otzi is the oldest known natural human mummy found in Europe. The mummification process is so deeply associated with the ancient Egyptian culture that the word mummy has become synonyms with it. However, the process was performed on every continent on the planet by various cultures. The world's oldest known mummies were in fact created by small fishing communities known as the Chinchorro. Inhabiting the Pacific coastal region of current northern Chile and southern Peru, the Chinchorro used a different mummification technique. They removed the flesh of the dead bodies, dried the bones with hot ashes, reapplied the skin, and supplemented where needed with sea lion or pelican skin. Mummification was practiced by several other cultures, including the Inca and the Aztec from pre-Columbian Americas, the Maori people of New Zealand, the Guanches, who inhabited the Canary Islands in present-day Spain, and the Ibaloi people in northern Philippines. For more information, kindly visit the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.